My ex stole my dog just to spite me, so I outsmarted her and left her with nothing? Breakups are always messy, but when someone takes what you love most just to spite you, that's when it gets personal. I'm 28M, and up until a few months ago, I was in a 3-year relationship with Jessica, 29F. At first, things were great. She was funny, charismatic, and had this way of making everyone around her feel special. I honestly thought she was the one, but over time, I started noticing little things. How she always had to be in control, how she manipulated situations to get her way, how she never really listened when things weren't about her. But the one thing that kept me from leaving sooner? My dog, Cooper. Cooper is a golden retriever, the best boy on the planet. I got him as a puppy before I even met Jessica. He's my dog, not ours, not hers, mine. He's been with me through everything, my absolute best friend. And Jessica? She liked Cooper, but it was clear she never had that deep connection with him like I did. She'd pet him, sure, but she never wanted to take him on walks, never played with him unless it was for Instagram pictures. He was an accessory to her, not family. So when we broke up, I never thought for a second that she'd try to take him, but that's exactly what she did. Jessica and I had been on the rocks for months. She was getting more controlling, picking fights over nothing, always twisting situations so she'd be the victim. I was exhausted. The relationship wasn't fun anymore. It was just a constant battle. One night, after yet another pointless argument, I finally snapped. I can't do this anymore, Jess. We're done. She stared at me for a moment, like she couldn't believe I was actually ending it. Then, instead of crying or arguing, she just smirked. Smirked. Fine, she said, arms crossed. But I'm taking Cooper. I actually laughed, thinking she was joking. What are you talking about? Cooper is my dog, you know that? She shrugged, still smirking. We've lived together for 2 years. I take care of him just as much as you do. He's as much mine as he is yours. I felt my stomach drop. Jess, you don't even take him on walks. You don't feed him. You don't do anything for him. She rolled her eyes. That's not true and you know it. And besides, I already talked to a lawyer. Since we live together and shared expenses, I have just as much claim to him as you do. I could feel my hands shaking. You're seriously trying to steal my dog? She tilted her head, looking almost bored. I wouldn't say steal. I'd say win. And that's when I realized this wasn't about Cooper. This was about hurting me. She knew taking Cooper was the one thing that would break me, and she was going to do it just because she could. I tried everything to reason with her. I offered to split custody, which, looking back, was ridiculous, but I was desperate. I offered to buy him from her, even though he was already mine, but she refused. I don't want your money, she said with a smile. I just want him. It didn't matter that she had never truly cared about Cooper. It didn't matter that he clearly preferred being with me. She just wanted to win. When I told her I'd fight for him in court, she laughed. Go ahead, she said. But good luck proving he's only yours. I've got vet records, receipts, and plenty of pictures of us together. Judges don't like breaking up families. That's when I knew I was screwed. Because technically, she wasn't wrong. We had both taken him to vet appointments, and even though I had paid for everything, her name was on some of the paperwork. Legally, it was messy. And Jessica thrived in messy situations. I consulted with a lawyer who basically told me that while I had a case, it wasn't a guaranteed win. Judges do tend to side with stability, and if Jessica argued that Cooper had a consistent home with her, I might actually lose him for good. I couldn't risk that. So instead of taking her to court, I decided to play the game her way. I knew Jessica better than she thought I did. She was impulsive, self-centered, and most importantly, she had no patience. She didn't really want Cooper. She wanted to hurt me. But she also wasn't the type to actually commit to taking care of him long term. So I waited. The first few weeks were hell. Knowing my boy was living with someone who saw him as nothing more than a trophy made my blood boil. But I played it cool. I didn't beg. I didn't text her. I didn't give her the satisfaction of knowing just how much she had hurt me. And sure enough, she got bored. I started hearing from mutual friends that she was complaining about having to take care of him. She didn't like waking up early to walk him. She didn't like dealing with his shedding. She didn't like how much attention he needed. And then she made a huge mistake. She started dating someone new. Now, normally I wouldn't give a shit, but this guy, he was allergic to dogs. And suddenly Jessica had a problem. I knew she'd never admit she couldn't handle Cooper. Her ego wouldn't allow it. But I also knew she wouldn't want to keep a dog that made her boyfriend miserable. So I waited a little longer. And then one night, I got the text I had been praying for. Hey, I've been thinking, maybe we should talk about Cooper. Bingo. I didn't respond right away. I let her stew in her own problem for a bit. Then, the next day, I texted back, what about him? I just think, maybe he'd be better off with you. I could barely contain my excitement, but I played it cool. I don't know, Jess. You fought really hard for him. How do I know you won't change your mind? She took the bait immediately. I won't, I promise. It's just, he's a lot of work, and my life is really busy right now. I just want what's best for him. I almost laughed. She was acting like she was doing me a favor. But I didn't care. Cooper was coming home. We agreed to meet the next day. When I showed up, Cooper lost his mind, jumping, barking, wagging his tail so hard he nearly knocked me over. It was obvious to everyone that he belonged with me. And Jessica? She barely looked me in the eye as she handed over his leash. I didn't say thank you, because she didn't deserve it. But I wasn't done yet. Jessica thought she got off easy, but she had no idea what was coming next. Because now that Cooper was safe, it was time to make sure she paid the ultimate price. Getting Cooper back was the best feeling in the world. The second I walked him through my front door, it felt like everything was right again. He trotted around the house, sniffing everything like he was making sure it was all still there, then immediately flopped onto his favorite spot on the couch like he had never left. I sat down next to him, scratching behind his ears, and for the first time in months, I felt at peace. But this wasn't over. Jessica had spent months putting me through just to try and hurt me. She had stolen my dog, dangled him over my head, and only gave him back because it became inconvenient for her. And the fact that she had the audacity to act like she was doing me a favor, that just made it worse. She thought she got off easy. She had no idea what was coming next. I knew Jessica well enough to know one thing. Her reputation meant everything to her. She carefully crafted this image of herself as a successful, put-together woman, always posting about her flawless life, making sure people saw her as this independent, high-achieving person. But underneath all that, she was a manipulative, selfish person who thrived on controlling others. So I decided to take the one thing she valued most, her image. The first thing I did, I made sure everyone knew exactly what she had done. I started with our mutual friends. I didn't need to exaggerate or twist the story. I just told the truth. How she had taken Cooper just to spite me, how she had kept him even though she didn't actually want him, how she had only given him back because he didn't fit into her new relationship, and let me tell you, people were disgusted. No one likes a dog thief. Some of our friends had been neutral during the breakup, thinking it was just relationship drama. But once they heard about the Cooper situation, they dropped her fast. I started getting texts. Dude, I had no idea she did that. That's messed up. She told me she was taking care of Cooper. She never said she stole him from you. Yeah, I'm done with her. That's low. Her social life took a huge hit. But I wasn't done yet. Jessica might have been all about her social image, but there was something she cared about even more, her job. She worked in PR and branding, meaning her entire career was about making people and businesses look good. And let's just say being known as a vindictive, dog-stealing ex isn't exactly a good look in that field. So I decided to hit her where it hurt. Now, I didn't go out of my way to contact her job or do anything malicious, but I knew that the story was already spreading among our social circles, and the thing about the PR industry, it's small. People talk. So I made sure the story kept spreading. Every time someone brought up the breakup, I made sure to casually mention what she had done. I never told people to boycott her or harass her. I just let her own actions do the damage. And it worked. A few weeks later, a mutual friend who worked in the same industry as her told me that her boss had heard about what she did. Apparently, someone at her office had overheard a conversation about it and word got back to management. Now, her company didn't fire her or anything, but in a field where image is everything, she was suddenly a liability. No more big projects, no more promotions, just damage control. She had screwed herself over without me having to lift a finger. At this point, Jessica's entire life was crumbling. She had lost friends, she had lost credibility at work, and from what I heard, her new boyfriend wasn't exactly thrilled about the whole situation. Apparently, once he found out why she had given Cooper back, he started seeing her differently. Because let's be real, who wants to date someone who's vindictive enough to steal a dog just to hurt their ex? One night, I got a text from another mutual friend. Dude, Jessica's boyfriend dumped her, said she was too toxic. I smiled. She had lost everything, all because she wanted to win. A few months passed and life got better and better. Cooper and I were thriving. I had started dating again, not seriously, just putting myself back out there. And for the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy. Then, out of the blue, I got a message from Jessica, a long ass dramatic apology. She went on about how she had been immature and hurt after the breakup, how she had acted out of emotion and wasn't thinking clearly, how she regretted everything and wished she could take it back. And of course, she ended it with, I hope we can still be friends someday. I laughed. Then I deleted the message. Because here's the thing, Jessica wasn't sorry about what she did. She was sorry about the consequences. She thought she could manipulate her way out of the mess she created, but not this time. I blocked her number and moved on because in the end, she took my dog in the breakup, so I made sure she paid the ultimate price. And honestly, I don't regret a damn thing. After I blocked Jessica's number, I thought that was the end of it. She had lost her friends, tanked her career reputation, and got dumped by the guy she fought so hard to keep. Meanwhile, I had my dog, my peace, and my life back. But people like Jessica, they don't just take the loss and move on. A couple of weeks later, I got a call from a random number. Normally, I don't answer unknown calls, but something in my gut told me to pick up. The second I said hello, I heard her voice. Hey, I know you blocked me, but I really need to talk to you. I pulled the phone away from my ear, stared at it for a second, then put it back. How did you get this number? Jessica sighed like she was the one who was exhausted. That's not important. Look, I know things got messy, and I feel like we should have one last conversation. You owe me that. I actually laughed. Owe you? Jessica, I don't owe you a damn thing. She got defensive immediately. You're acting like I murdered someone. I made a mistake. I just wanted to hurt you because you were hurting me. I shook my head. No, you didn't make a mistake. You spent months deliberately making my life just to get back at me for leaving. You didn't take Cooper because you loved him. You took him because you wanted to punish me. Silence. For the first time in her life, Jessica had nothing to say. Then, in a small voice, she muttered, I don't understand why everyone turned on me. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Are you serious? You stole someone's dog in a breakup. Do you have any idea how unhinged that makes you look? She sniffled. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. That was it. That was all I needed to hear. I took a deep breath and said, Jessica, I'm going to make this real simple for you. I do not forgive you. I will never forgive you. And I want you to forget I even exist. Then I hung up. And this time, I didn't feel angry or vengeful. I just felt done. Jessica had nothing left. And the best part? She did it to herself. After that last conversation, I thought for sure I was free of her. Then, one day, I got a message from a mutual friend. Dude, you're not going to believe this. Jessica is trying to move away. I blinked at my screen. What? Apparently, her job prospects had completely dried up. No one in our city's PR industry wanted to work with her after the dog stealing fiasco, and without a solid career, her parents cut her off financially. No more free rent, no more help with bills. So she was packing up and moving across the country to stay with an old college friend who believed in second chances. I laughed. Good. Let her start over somewhere else. But my friend wasn't done. She's also trying to get a job at my company before she leaves. I thought you'd want to know. I sat up a little straighter. You're joking. Nope. She's applying for a PR position. I saw her name on the candidate list. Now, I'm not a petty person by nature. I really wasn't looking to drag this out any longer. But after everything Jessica had done, yeah, I wasn't about to let her just waltz into a fresh start without consequences. So I forwarded my friend every screenshot, every piece of proof I had of Jessica's antics. The dog theft, the manipulation, the fraud-like behavior. I didn't tell them what to do with it. I just said, hey, since she's applying for your company, you should probably know the kind of person she is. A week later, my friend texted me, she didn't get the job. Guess she didn't expect a background check. She was officially out of options. A few weeks later, I was walking Cooper at our usual park when I noticed someone sitting on a bench a little ways away. Something about their posture, the way they were hunched over with their head in their hands, felt weirdly familiar. Then they looked up, and my stomach dropped. It was Jessica. She looked exhausted. I wasn't sure what to do, but before I could turn around, she saw me, and just like that, she was on her feet, rushing toward me. Wait, she called. Please, just give me a second. Cooper started growling. He never growled at anyone. I tightened my grip on his leash. Jessica, what the heck are you doing here? She stopped a few feet away, looking at Cooper like she was about to cry. I just wanted to see him one last time, I stared at her. No, she flinched. What? I said no, you don't get to see him. You lost that right the second you used him as a pawn in your stupid revenge game. Tears welled up in her eyes. I I know I messed up, but I really did love him, Cooper barked, pulling back like he wanted to get away from her. I gave him a reassuring pat before looking her dead in the eyes. No, you didn't. Jessica's face crumbled. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I sighed. Go home, Jessica. Get your shit together and leave us alone. Then I turned and walked away. She didn't follow. And that was the last time I ever saw her. It's been over a year since everything happened. Jessica did end up moving away, and as far as I know, she's still struggling to put her life back together. Last I heard, she had been couch hopping and job hunting, but no one really talks to her anymore. She burned too many bridges. Meanwhile, I'm happier than ever. Cooper is thriving. He's still my best friend, still gets excited every time I walk through the door, still the best boy on the planet. I even met someone new. Not that I was looking, but sometimes life just works out like that. And the best part, she actually loves Cooper, like really loves him. Not just for the Instagram pictures, not just for the aesthetic. She plays with him, takes him on walks, spoils him with treats, and every time I see them together, I'm reminded of just how lucky I am. I could have spent years stuck in a toxic relationship with Jessica. I could have lost Cooper forever. But instead, I got my best friend back. And Jessica, she got exactly what she deserved. A few months had passed since I last saw Jessica at the park, and honestly, life had never been better. She had finally disappeared from my life, and I had no reason to think about her anymore. Cooper and I had settled into a great routine, and I was seeing someone new. Maya, unlike Jessica, Maya was actually kind, down to earth, and most importantly, she genuinely loved Cooper. I don't just mean in a take cute pictures for Instagram way, she actually cared about him, taking him on runs, spoiling him with new toys, and even researching the best homemade treats to bake for him. One night, as I watched Maya laughing while Cooper rolled onto his back for belly rubs, I realized something. This, this was how it was supposed to be. I had wasted years with someone who saw my dog as a bargaining chip, someone who only cared about winning, someone who never truly valued what we had. And yet, in just a few short months, Maya had shown me what a real partnership was supposed to feel like. But just when I thought Jessica was gone for good, I found out that karma wasn't quite done with her yet. One day, I got a text from a former mutual friend, someone I hadn't spoken to since the breakup. Dude, have you heard about Jessica? I frowned at my phone. No, and I don't care. LMAO, trust me, you're gonna want to hear this. I hesitated for a second, then typed back, Fine. What happened? And when I read his reply, I actually had to sit down because I was laughing too hard. Turns out, Jessica had finally hit rock bottom. After she moved away to start fresh, things didn't go as planned. She was still couch hopping, still struggling to hold a job, and after getting rejected from every PR firm she applied to, she had no choice but to take a customer service job at a local pet store. The irony was delicious. The woman who tried to use my dog as a weapon, now stuck cleaning up dog pee and bagging kibble for minimum wage. But it gets better. Apparently, she started dating her manager, some guy named Trevor, who, from what I heard, was an absolute dirtbag. Not only was he cheating on her, but he was also stealing from the store, and Jessica, being the absolute genius she is, helped him. You already know where this is going. A few weeks later, someone ratted them out to corporate and they both got fired. So now she had no job, no savings, no relationship, and no support system. She was completely alone. I let out a long breath, shaking my head. I didn't feel bad for her. I didn't feel angry either. If anything, I just felt nothing. She had spent so much time trying to ruin my life, but in the end, she only ruined herself. A few days after I heard the news, I was at home when my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. I already knew who it was. I stared at the screen for a moment, debating whether to answer. Then, against my better judgment, I picked up. I didn't say anything, just waited. A few seconds of silence, then, in a voice that was barely above a whisper, I heard, I don't have anyone else to call. Jessica. I let out a slow breath. And whose fault is that? She sniffled. I know I messed up. Messed up? I repeated, laughing dryly. Jessica, you spent months trying to destroy me. You stole my dog, you tried to ruin my reputation, and now you're here because, what, you want sympathy? More silence. Then, finally, she muttered, I just don't know what to do anymore. I sighed, shaking my head. Here's what you're going to do, Jessica. You're going to hang up this phone. You're going to take a long, hard look in the mirror. And you're going to figure your own life out because I am not your savior. I was never your savior. She let out a quiet sob. I didn't mean for things to get this bad. But they did, I said coldly. And the only person responsible for that is you. I hung up. And for the first time since this whole mess started, I finally felt free. After that last call, Jessica never contacted me again. From what I heard, she eventually left town completely, probably to try and scam some other poor guy into taking care of her. But as far as I was concerned, she no longer existed. Meanwhile, my life? It was amazing. Cooper was happier than ever, Maya and I were going strong, and I had finally closed the chapter on the most toxic relationship of my life. One night, as I sat on the couch with Maya, watching Cooper snore in his favorite spot, she looked over at me and smiled. You okay? I blinked, snapping out of my thoughts. Yeah, I said, smiling back. I'm more than okay. And for the first time in a long time, I really truly meant it.